I started writing code when I was 10 years old. It wasn't something in school. Something was just pure curiosity. I had it. Fast forward, I got to the 8-1 unit in the intelligence forces here in Israel. Spent 5 years, graduated as captain. And then when I left the army, it was pretty clear to me that I am going to open my own company.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started.
20-Minute Leaders is a proud supporter of Make-A-Wish Israel and Tech to Peace, and is in proud collaboration with Secret Ventures, J Ventures, Riverside FM, Fusion VC, Birthright Excel, J Impact, Leap, Google for Startups, and Hippo,
And in media partnership with CTech.
All right, welcome to another episode of 20-Minute Leaders. Today, I'm with Liran Hason, the co-founder and CEO of Aporia, a full-stack machine learning observability platform used by Fortune 500 companies and data science teams across the world to ensure responsible AI. Prior to founding Aporia, Liran was an ML architect at Microsoft-acquired Adallom, and later on an investor at Vertex Ventures. Liran created Aporia after seeing firsthand the effects of AI without guardrails. Certainly a crazy world we live in, and I'm really excited for this conversation with Liran. I get to ask you my favorite question, which is, why do you do what you do? Why do you wake up every day running this crazy startup, looking at machine learning, observability, and data science in general? What is sort of your North Star, and why do you have the coolest job in the world? So I'd love to hear more about you.
Oh, wow. I have a lot to say about that. So there are a few questions when you ask, like, why am I running a company from the very beginning? Then why specifically machine learning? And then third, why specifically observability for machine learning? So this is kind of the way I see it. So first, why did I start my own company in general? I started writing code when I was 10 years old. It wasn't something in school. Something was just pure curiosity. I had a good friend of mine who was able to build a website, gave me a call, really read to me a 200 characters website address. I remember typing it in my computer, and then I saw his website. And for me, it was like mind blowing, the fact that he built something on his computer and I can open it and access it from my computer. It was crazy. So it got me super curious about how do you create this thing. And then I started really creating websites. I started learning HTML and then ASP and then other languages. Some of them are not in existence or not being used today anymore. But really, what got me engaged so much as a kid was about having something, an idea in your mind, and then really designing it. Back in the day, I was using Photoshop for that. And then really actually taking this graphic, implementing, writing, developing it, and make it real so people can actually use them. Mm-hmm. There were a couple of projects that was a lot about creation. It was amazing from my experience. So fast forward, I got to the 8-1 unit in the intelligence forces here in Israel. Spent 5 years, graduated as captain. And then when I left the army, it was pretty clear to me that I am going to open my own company. I really like creating in general, but more specifically, I like creating products and I like creating teams. Up until this date, I'm still in touch with like some of my best friends were my subordinates from the army.
Wow.
So yeah, it was all about that. And it was really every decision I made in my career was about what's going to provide me with more skills, more experience that will make me a better CEO, a better founder one day when I will open my own company.
Was it a trivial trivial progression for you from researcher, engineer, very detail oriented, very execution based, to now more of a leadership style that now you're being measured not by your own work, but by the work of your subordinates or team members in the Army's perspective, or now, by the company that you're running? I guess you don't get to write much code in the day to day.
Yeah. Although last week, I was able to help and some engineering issue that we face. So, but yeah, I'm not writing code today. Was it natural? It's a good question. I feel like, it's really about how you feel and who you are as a personality. In my last role in the army, that was kind of the things I was doing. So I was managing a team of people, but I was writing code. I was managing the people. We had a project that included dozens of people that I was really leading the direction of this project. I wouldn't say that I did business, marketing, sales back in the day, but then that's exactly what I looked for in my next positions, right? So when I joined Adallom as one of the first employees, I was really curious to find a place where I'll get a seat in the front row to see how a startup is being built, but also on the business side. And I'm like super thankful for Adallom founders who gave me the opportunity to go travel to the US, meet with our prospects. It's not so obvious to take a software engineer and put him against, like, in the room with Fortune 500 company and let him lead a technical discussion. This is an amazing opportunity that I had. And really, I think in Adallom, I got exposed to how sales is done, how marketing is done. Before Adallom, like for me, marketing and sales considered as the same thing. So I think Adallom was an amazing school for me to learn all these things. And then moving on to Vertex Ventures, more being on the investor side, allowed me to gain some more insight about why some companies are more successful, why others are less, how should I evaluate different market opportunities, as well as when building a company, how should you, choose your board members if you have this luxury, and stuff like that. So I wasn't born with, all this knowledge, but it's something I accumulated over time, and I'm still learning. I think the most important thing in the startup is really to learn every day.
So it sounds like through a variety of experiences, you got to really do a deep dive into these different aspects, which now you obviously have to consolidate yourself as a leader. And then transitioning more to the machine learning aspect and sort of the domain that you've chosen to run a company. You're at a position after being a principal investor at Vertex, which is a phenomenal fund. And you now say, okay, what do I want to do? What is sort of the thing that I want to work on for the next 10 years that will be the most meaningful and fulfilling for me and my team? How do you converge on your world? Why is machine learning, observability, and the problems that you're solving, why are they so fascinating for you?
Right. So it wasn't the first option or the first time I was, introduced with the idea of starting a company in a specific field. But I actually waited from the moment I left the army till I started Aporia for 5 years for the right moment and the right opportunity. So what was in there? And I'd say there were two main things. So the first thing for me, it was really about the opportunity to do something impactful, right? And when you think about AI, you really see AI taking over. And AI becoming as large as software, and maybe in the future it's going to be even larger than software. And it's really getting into every vertical, whether it's healthcare, financials, autonomous cars. It's really everywhere in every vertical. Now, when you think about the impact of all these models of this technology, it really allows us as society to do things that were considered as impossible or very, very costly before, right? Now, if you think about it, very similarly to software, AI will fail. Like, it's the unfortunate reality that we're living in. And therefore, every place that will, and every organization that will is adopting and will adopt AI, they will have to have something to monitor their machine learning models. And really, having an observability solution is no less than an enabler for this technology. So this is the first reason. And then the second one is about the market opportunity here, right? So I was waiting for 5 years. I really wanted to build a large company. Not talking about valuation, by the way, not talking about even revenues or how many employees, but rather having a company, building a company where we build a product that our customers, our users really enjoyed using it, really deriving value from this product. When the question of renewal comes to place, it's not a question, it's pretty clear. So this was one thing about it. And the second is to build a place where people are coming and starting their workday with a clear understanding of why they're doing what they're doing. What's the impact of what they're doing?
So clarify for me a little bit about this, the notion of deriving value from the product. Because, on one hand, you're saying this is not, when you're saying big company, we're not necessarily talking about valuation or market cap, et cetera, but because those are very quantitative, right? You're talking about something a little bit more qualitative, which is how much value are you getting from this? How do you as a CEO how do you explain now the value that is being given by Aporia or whatever solution you envision as you grow this company? What is this value that is dramatic for companies?
So I think the value is really about, really leveraging AI, whether it's insulin pumps that you want to know how to use it and what is the exact ranges in the blood and so on, whether it's autonomous cars, which can save us a lot of times as humanity. So this is the impact, really enabling these things to be used in real life. I think this is the true impact. But for that really to happen, it's not enough to have, to pay a lot of money for a company to do that for you, but really to use this solution. So when we look at a company about what we care about the usage of our clients with the product. And one of the things we are really proud of is to see our users using the product, and not only they're using it, they're also advocate for it. And you can see on Slack communities and MLOps communities that people recommend that, if you're looking for an observability solution, well, you must try Aporia. They promise you can be up and running in less than 5 minutes, and it's actually true. So these kind of things.
Interesting. And so one thing that we were talking about here is the sort of the growth of AI into every vertical, right? And the fact that today machine learning models, they're not just for the large companies that are doing the really complicated things. It's really for every probable task that a company may need, they can leverage machine learning in one way or another. So just looping back to this, because I think it's a really important note. Why is observability important here? I mean, this is not something that people talk about often. Why is this something that we should invest in, that we should actually care about as either as a company or as somebody who's using the product of the company?
Right. So let's say what happened if you wouldn't have observability or monitoring from machine learning, right?
Which basically means that you're creating the model. You're not really looking too much about your biases, your data. You're just sort of letting it run, black box. How we say in Hebrew, shager v'shkach.
Exactly. Right. So let's say you're very optimistic and you let them just run freely in
I'm
production.
an optimist.
Yep. So there are a few examples, really unfortunate ones, whether it's Zillow, who found themselves losing $300 million in revenues. As a result, the very same week, their market cap got sliced in $9 billion. So this is just one simple example, but it's not really only about money. There was an example where Amazon tried to leverage AI to prioritize job resumes, because a lot of people, submit the resumes to Amazon. They really just want to prioritize the more relevant candidates. And while they were actually able to come up with very successful models, they later on realized that their models are biased against women. And this was, although they didn't use gender as an input to their model. And this is really where the challenge lies, right? These models are black box. It's not like traditional software. So really, how do we use this technology without discriminating different people, with making sure that everyone has the same equal opportunity these days, right? How do we make sure that AI is being used for good and not for bad? So it's really about all these questions why ML observability is so crucial.
Right. So now going back to sort of you as the entrepreneur, as a CEO, and a little bit about your take on this and growing a company, what is sort of top of mind for you as you're navigating through this, the awesome technology, the great impact that you're building? You still choose to go and fight this every day and to create a big company. What are some things that you're thinking about? What do you think about before you go to sleep?
Oh, wow. I think about a lot of things before I go to sleep. Do you want to be more specific?
As the CEO of a fast-growing startup that is making a big impact, and you're positioned to hopefully be integrated into a lot of the work by a lot of businesses from large to small, what are things that you're prioritizing as a CEO, as a leader here?
Sure. So, listen, we've been able to build an amazing product. It's not me saying it, it's the community saying that. Pretty recently, we closed our Series A round, and now we're growing very, very rapidly, as you mentioned. Now, it does create some challenges of growth. We have amazing culture here. We have the smartest people here in Israel working on this product. And now, as we are expanding both in Israel and in the US, it raises some new questions, right? Like, how do we keep the culture as it was before? How do we grow rapidly without breaking things? Like, it's important to break things and break them quick, but how do we keep the things that are important for us the same way they are? Or how do we update them to the new state of the company? I think this is kind of one of the things that I'm thinking a lot about.
Interesting. And as you're obviously having to keep in touch with the cutting edge of technology and machine learning, is this a lot of research that you need to do? How do you balance between your own offerings versus keeping in touch with sort of how the long tail of businesses are leveraging AI today? Because this is also changing dramatically year in and year out. We've just seen what's happening with NLP and the emergence of NLP now into small businesses, which hasn't really happened yet, but it will. Obviously, Aporia is going to be a big part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, by the way, NLP, I think it's an amazing example, right? How in the past year, we were able to see democratization of this technology. And when you think about it, doing NLP in traditional software, it is much more complex than with tabular data. And that's why you see a lot of adoption of ML with NLP-related use cases. So as for us, and for our product, the way we built our product roadmap is highly correlated with the market. We take a lot of the input from our existing customers, as well as we talk constantly with the market, whether it's analysts, whether it's investors, whether it's potential customers of ours, really to identify what are the trends and what is the best way for them. What are they looking to get from a product like Aporia? Based on that, that's how we prioritize and build that. And in according with that, we also have an in-house research team, which constantly conduct research. For example, you mentioned NLP. One of the things we are researching internally is to find better ways to investigate NLP issues and to gain insights about how to improve NLP models.
Interesting. And obviously, we can all imagine what would happen if somebody uses a black box NLP with some bias or in some context that is not exactly what you intended, and what are the implications of that, as NLP is very human oriented in the real world. You mentioned that you're in awe of the people that you work with, whether it's their intelligence or their nature, and if there's so many amazing people around the world, and I'm always curious, how do you sort of position Aporia as you're trying to bring them on and bring them to your team? What is sort of your persona, if you had to envision sort of the type of person that you're attracting to Aporia or to your own mission in this world? What is this persona? What do you truly care about?
About the employees, you're asking?
Yeah. Who do you want to partner with you on your journey here?
Yeah. So first, I'd say soul players, people who are really passionate about what they're doing. They care a lot about that. Because really, I think there is no one employee in our company that doesn't know what we're doing. So this will be the first thing, being a soul player, being part of a family. I know there's a lot of discussion, is company a family or not? I like to call Aporia a team. Even though we're a couple of teams, it's still a team. It's not a group of people, but rather a team collaborating together. So it's a lot about the personality. Winners in their mind, like people here will do everything it takes in order to win. We'll work
so the winner mentality,
nights, holidays. We'll do whatever it takes in order to win. And also people who are very, very smart. I usually like to evaluate people on 3 different aspects. First will be motivation, then it will be skills, and third, the culture fit. So we do look for, to fill in all these free chat boxes when we are evaluating people to join Aporia. And in general, when evaluating people, I don't like to call it interviews. I try to believe it's more a mutual fit. So that's kind of the way we also evaluate these kind of opportunities, more of whether it's a mutual fit for us and the candidate or not.
Right. I mean, it sounds like, especially today, rather than maybe even a few years ago, it's much easier to sort of understand the benchmark of a person in terms of what they know and what their current skill sets are, which perhaps was the main interview process up until a few years ago. But now we have so many ways of getting these off the ground that once you actually go and you start a ping pong with somebody, you kind of know that they're a right professional fit. Now the question is, are you a part of the team? And there comes the winner mentality, the ability to be truly passionate about what you do. And so, Liran, thank you very, very much. I appreciate your time. I love the problem that you're dealing with. I truly care about observability and machine learning, and looking a lot as to fairness and figuring out how the hell do we make sense of this new world that we're going into, where everything is going to be driven by machine learning models and AI models. And we need a lot of support to be able to understand what's happening and when to pull the brakes and when to push the gas. And it's not trivial. So thank you for your work. Thank you for your time, and best of luck with Aporia.
Thank you very much, Michael. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.